Good evening, guys, and team and friends from all the channels that this is beaming into. The Mesh Movement is presenting the Monday Night Call again, and our goal is to have amazing speakers on every week so you can learn and hopefully take what they say and apply it to your life and make your life even more amazing than it already is. And tonight, we've outdone ourselves. We have got such an amazing speaker. She's been in all the way from America, and she stayed up all night just so she can speak to us. And I'm just so grateful. And usually I've met the speakers, but tonight I just like I've known of Loren, but her reputation certainly does precede her. So look, I'm just going to read some stuff. I'm not going to speak very much tonight. I'm just going to let Loren take over. But I'm going to read something, and it would take me the entire call to read her bio and her accomplishments out, but I'm just going to quickly go through something that you might find cool. So if I can get everyone on mute, that'd be amazing. But Loren is the ultimate mumpreneur, the healthy living hottie, the goddess of Goya, the Stay True Shiro, speaker, seminar leader, coach, author, philanthropist, wife, mother, and so much more. Loren Lahav is known for many things. She's the real deal. And I just want to read one more thing that I found when I went searching. It's a testimonial by someone that you might know. He's kind of famous, but I just want to read it. Loren gives every ounce of herself and more. You will never find a more resourceful and dedicated individual. Loren is not only an extraordinary mum and working mother, but a woman whose commitment to her best propels her to new heights of joy and passion in both her family life and her business relationships. Tony Robbins. Who would like to be able to have a testimonial from Tony Robbins? That's pretty amazing. So look, Loren, I'm not going to speak much tonight. I've got some questions for you, but I think you've been on Zoom a couple of times before and you're an amazing trainer. So I'm just going to let you take over. Is that okay?
Oh, sure. You just made me cry though. So I might have a little bit of tears in my eye right now. So anyway, yeah, I actually just saw Tony last week, and it was interesting because I hadn't seen him in a long time. And a friend of mine had never been to one of his events, and so I took her to the NAC event, and I was actually sitting there because I'm going to be the MC for the one that's happening here in Las Vegas. And so she was so excited. I mean, to see that excitement, I don't even know how to explain it. But he came over and he's like, let's get a picture. So it was really exciting for my friend. But anyway, I'm super honored, Joel, to be here with you guys. And it's amazing how full circle things are, right? And all the friends that we have in common. And I think I've known Keurig for 25 plus years, maybe. So I'll tell you a little bit of my story. And for those of you that don't know me, I might be your grandmother. I might be your great-great-grandmother. I might be your great-great-great-great-grandmother. So I heard about, back then it was called NSA, National Safety Associates, back in 1989. And I was working 4 jobs in Southern California to kind of stay above ground. I graduated from college. I moved to California to be the winner circle girl and handle the group sales at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. So those of you that like the horses, that was, I loved it. But I was still, I kind of got there and I was like, this is it. This is what I went to school for, sports marketing for this. And I was missing a really big part of my life, which was really contribution. And it is exactly how many years ago? 29 years ago, last week, that a friend of mine who was in NSA, he sold me a water filter, and he said, look, it's called the puppy dog approach. They leave the water filter with you for a week, and you'd hook it up to your faucet, and then you would try for a week. And they say, look, if you like it, you can keep it, but you just try it for a week. And if you don't like it, you can give it back. So it's my friend, Tom Landers. And I love this water filter. And anyway, at the same time that he gave me this water filter, he also invited me to a basket brigade in Del Mar, California. And I was like, okay, that's cool. We're going to go deliver food to the homeless. And I show up at this big house in Del Mar, California, but everybody had a big house in Del Mar, California. But this house just happened to be in the shape of a castle. And it turned out that it was Tony Robbins' house. There were about 25 people there. And I'm like, oh my God, what cool people, what great people. So that's kind of how my career started that night. There was this really cute guy sitting beside me. And it turned out that is now the father of my 3 children. So you just never know. And it's funny because I met Keurig, came in at Tony's house as well. He went to train, went to actually Tony's second private client, a guy named Hashem. And so I remember meeting Keurig, and sorry, I keep going back to that. You guys are probably, I think many of you have already met Keurig in that way. And just what an amazing man that he was. So anyway, what was I gonna say? So I went and I had this water filter, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep it. I don't want to give it back to you, Tom. So he sold the water filter to me. Well, about 6 months later, I kept telling everybody, you know, if you like this water filter, go see my friend Tom. I just told everybody to go see my friend Tom. Well, 6 months later, as I said, he invited me to a party. He told me there was a big party in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm like, all right. He goes, there's going to be lots of boys there. I'm like, cool. I'm 23, 24 years old. I said, that sounds good to me. And I show up, and there's this great party, and I meet someone named Jeff Roberti. I meet a guy, Darren Hardy, who, just so you guys know, Darren Hardy was the youngest national marketing director with the NSA company. So if you've ever read The Compound Effect, Darren was with this company. Eric Rory was with this company. So most people that, you know, have really developed their identity and their brand in our profession started with this company. So I went and I met these really cool people, and they go, look, since you're here already in Memphis, why don't you just stay? There's a conference happening tomorrow. And they go, why don't you just come on in and listen? So I'm like, okay, I'm always love to learn something. And I went and I sat there and I took notes like crazy. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing. And I look at my friend Tom and I'm like, oh my God, like, you didn't tell me that this was a business? So my friends, I'm going to talk a lot about how I am so much not just in love with our products, but in love with this amazing mission. So here's my journal, just so you guys know. This is my journal from 1990. You can see it there, 1990. And if you can see there, it have my physical goals. And if you see there, it says my NSA goals. And I sat there, and I'll let you guys look at that. I said, you know, financially make up to $5,000 a month consistently, how develop a strong community, educated, blah, 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 build business around the world. You know, go back to North Carolina, fly to San Diego after I've developed my organization. Why? Because it's amazing leadership, great support, great expansion, people helping develop each other through the results, through the environment, due to opportunity to do trainings, develop strong public speaking skills, an opportunity to share results. Let's see, have a, you know, attend the Phoenix March, you know, Phoenix conference in March. And here's what I did. I went to conference and was pumped up. But guess what I did? Absolutely nothing. I didn't even sign an application. And the reason why I say that is that, you know, knowledge, we all say, you know, knowledge is definitely not power. It's all about action, right? And I'm just coming back. I think the reason I'm up and really pumped and wasn't tired was I just got back from, Shani just had her 100 Club celebration here in Las Vegas, and that there are 80 people that are here, 80 people. They come from Canada, from the UK, from Australia, you know, and I just saw, you know, mamas who had like 5 kids, and, you know, I saw, you know, a girl that's pregnant, another girl that brought her baby. I think there were 20 moms that were there. And I think that sometimes we've really got to stop that stinking thinking, if you would. And I had some stinking thinking. I let people get into my head, even though I knew that it was an amazing opportunity, even though I knew that the company was awesome, that the products were awesome. I still, you know, because I let other people's opinions get in my head, and I consider myself a pretty smart person, you know, but I didn't do anything for all those years. So in 2007, 17 years later, yes, you heard it, 17 years later, you hear me tell the story, this is evidence of it. I've worked for Tony for 29 years. And it started that back then in 1990. That's when I started working for him. And I think I was like this, like, okay, well, I got a paycheck. And the worst thing that can kill your dreams is comfort. You want to kill your dreams? Get comfortable. And so I went and I was traveling around the world and I was doing all these things. And I would see Jeff Roberti at these events. He would come to Tony's events, and he was living the life that I said that I wanted to live. But I had this like hang up. Like I was like, oh, somebody didn't tell me about the business, or oh, somebody didn't do this or that. So I let that story, take over what really could be an amazing opportunity for me. And I'll use another Tony quote. It's one of my favorite Tony quotes is, don't let your rear view mirror be your guide. And so many times we love the story so much, talk about, and like that say you want to move forward, but you're still talking about the story from the past. So I was teaching Life Mastery. I moved to Fiji in 2002. Tony asked me to launch the Life Mastery program. So I was teaching these health programs and was teaching about 36 programs a year. Almost moved to Melbourne because on my weeks off the rock, I was like, I got to go somewhere when I would go to Melbourne. So I was teaching these events with my kid's father. We were, like I said, we teach about 36 programs a year. And actually, Linda and James were at the very first Life Mastery that we taught in 2002. And we'd just been friends. I think the thing that I learned from Jeff is just the power of relationships. And, you take, what are the relationships you want to, what are the relationships you take care of, the ones that you want to keep. And James and Linda actually gave me a bottle of champagne there in 2002. And I held it all of these years. I'm obviously not Australian because champagne is not really my thing. But anyway, in 2007, I was teaching these events. I came back to the United States and was teaching these programs. And I just had my daughter. She was 3 months old. And she was with me because I was nursing her. And I brought a nanny with me. And all the money that I made to teach these programs, went to pay for the nanny. And the rest of the money went to pay for the nanny that was back in Las Vegas taking care of my other 2 children. And so before I even started working these events, I was already out of money, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. And my line that I would say to myself is, I'm too freaking smart to be so freaking stupid. And Tony had come out with these new health products, and I love to share something that I believe in. So after the program was over, I went up to the doctor and I said, I'm so excited. I said, I can't wait to share this in front of the room. I said, what can I take because I'm nursing of these products? And she goes, you can't take any of these products if you're nursing. And I went up to her and I go, well, what can I give my kids? And she goes, you can't give your kids any of these products. So I got kind of sad because I really did want to, like I said, I love talking about things that I'm excited about. Well, Jeff Roberti happened to be attending that program, and his Snoopy years went up, and Jeff comes up behind me, and the program has ended, and he comes up behind me and he goes, Loren, you can give kids Juice Plus. You can take Juice Plus as well. And I'm like, oh my God, go away with your fruits and vegetables. I'm the nutritionist. I know everything. I've been teaching these programs to thousands of people around the world. I was so cocky and so arrogant and so disrespectful to him that my cup was so full of arrogance that I wasn't open to anything. And then I say a divine intervention happened. If you've heard this before, I hope you really hear this, because you should know my story inside and out the more that you hear it, because you never know who you can help through it. So at that moment, my phone rang. It was my friend Amanda, who had lupus at 26 years old. And nothing was helping her, Eastern, Western, inside out. And I was actually headed to kind of make this, my whole brand, like it's this health person. And my friend who's a publicist in New York, she's like, we're going to do this, and we're going to brand you for this, and we're going to do that. And there was this part of me, I'm like, something's not right, because everything I was recommending to Amanda wasn't helping her. And I felt totally incongruent saying like, I'm this, health person, and without being able to really help her. So I was talking to Jeff, my phone rang, and then he goes, Loren, you're coming with me. I'm like, Jeff, look, I'm too busy. I'm writing my second book right now. I've got a freaking 3-month-old with me. I haven't seen my other kids in, 3 weeks. I'm not coming with you to your conference. And then the phone rang again, and it was Amanda again. And I look at Jeff and I go, I'm going to your conference. And he goes, Loren, what got you to change your mind? I go, look, I'm not doing your business thing. I go, but if all it does is help my friend Amanda, then it's worth it. And then we went outside. He got the handcuffs, and he took me to Memphis. He paid for everything. And I go, look, just FYI, I don't want to just go by myself, because I'm very easily persuaded. And I said, but I want to take 3 other people, because I'm going to have them tell you no as well. And I went to conference and I saw what this company was really about. Everything that I saw back in 1990 was reconfirmed. You know, I saw their generosity. Just this past weekend was the St. Jude Marathon, where there were 26,000 participants. And I think they raised $10 million for it. And Juice Plus is the #1 sponsor for the St. Jude Marathon. I go there. My very first book that I did 23 years ago, I asked Dr. Sears to do a testimonial. He's the first speaker. And then they announced the research for that event. And it's on autoimmune disorders, specifically lupus. And then this lady, you know, Ro Mellenkov, gets up and speaks at her NMD speech, and she starts saying this, you know, sharing her story. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like my friend Amanda's story. And I felt like I like to say that I feel like I was in the movie Bruce Almighty, like, show me the signs, and the signs are everywhere, right? It's like right there in front of me. So I didn't wait till I got home. I didn't wait a second. I sat in the seat in the front row, and I thought of who did I know, love, and care about that I wanted better health for, that I wanted, you know, and I really didn't plan on doing this. So I started calling people, and I go, look, I don't know, but this sure makes sense to me. It couldn't hurt anything. You know, we all don't get enough fruits and vegetables. I go, I'm going to do it. And I say, look, you can go on the product, or if you know somebody that wants to help me, you know, share this message around the world, would you please send them my way? And by the end of the second day at conference, I had 14 new frontline. And I hadn't even signed a distributor application yet. And I was like, I guess I should sign an application so that I can do this. We didn't have bonuses there. So there was none of that, you know, encouraging like to go for those bonuses. And I never knew about a DD position. I never knew about an SD, whatever F position. I didn't even know about any of these things. All I knew is that Cheryl said to me, get me to the highest, you know, my job is to get you to the highest commission structure as quickly as possible, which was the SC position, which is still the same thing today. I'm trying to find in here to show you my notes from this conference as well. Once again, this is from 1990. And back then, the same principle applied, which was go wide with your front line, right? So it's called the breadth, which is your immediate influence. And then you want to imagine the depth of leadership, right? So depth is duplication. So I went and I thought, you know, I go, how many countries are we in? Jeff's like, Loren, we're in 24 countries. I'm like, great. I'm like, and I started writing. He goes, oh, slow down. I go, what do you mean? We're in 24 countries at the time. I go, I know people who know somebody in another country. And they started laughing. And so immediately, you know, there's a quote that says, you're going to dream anyway. Might as well dream big. And I started calling people, and I got busy. So that's a little bit of our story. We now have a team in 25 countries. Those of you guys that know, you know, just in Barcelona, we have a team there from Poland, from Finland, from Ireland, from France, from Germany. And this isn't just me. This is all of you. You know, I look at just even the team that's here this weekend, just seeing where they're all from all over as well. So this is your business, and you can design it however that you want. But I know I took a long time telling my story, but I hope you guys really get this. You know, now my son's in the business. He met his girlfriend at his fiance at a Juice Plus event. His team over in Australia as well. My 18-year-old just signed up. He has his first distributor. A guy, he's a highliner. My middle son is has 2.5 million followers on Instagram. I mean, they've been watching, right? And so to see that they have creating this Asher, I was getting a massage, and she was getting a facial, and I had to sit in the room because she's a minor. And as I was sitting, I had to sit in the room, and I'm doing a launch call for 2 girls. And one of the girls was like, yes, in our protein powder. And Asher goes, Mom, and she's 11. She goes, Mom, tell her it's not a protein powder. It's a whole food. It's a whole food, right? So your kids are watching. Your kids are like looking, and they look. And for me, my belief is we need to be the heroes that our children are looking for in the world, right? So they're watching, you know. So they're watching what you do and what you don't do. And so while I was waiting, I was, you know, to get on the call, I was like, okay, well, I need to make sure that these guys know that how I walk my talk. So I was like, I could have been sitting there watching TV. I could have taken a nap. I could have done this and that. I'm like, you know what? Nah. Everybody knows I'm obsessed with manifestation boards. So I started, this is what I just did while I was waiting for you guys. I started working on my board. I started putting names of people that I'm committed to having go to NMD and to Q and those people that we need. The other thing is I started looking at, and I got inspired by Danielle Hayton, my son's fiance. She did a board here. And so this is a qualifiers board that I created to have 500 qualifiers in 5 generations. So I'd encourage you to really just get out there and just start to do the do. I don't know what you want me to talk about. So you might have to ask me some questions because I don't know where you want me to go with this.
Well, yeah, well, that's a little bit intimidating to ask questions after that because that was freaking amazing. So, wow, yeah, like I thought I was up in my game already.
You know what, Joel, it's really interesting, but I want you to really get this because I want people to really get this. We all have a lot going on in our lives, a lot. But you know what? There was a great quote that I just saw, you know, about that if it's not a priority, what is that quote? I'm sure the already quote, you know, like if you're not doing it, then it's not a priority for you, right? And I think that what I learned from Cheryl and Jeff that was super important. There are a couple things. One, I'm a very creative person, as you can see, the creativity like oozes from me. That like just, you know, that's like I love that. But when I went to conference, I like had all these creative ideas. Like I could do this and I could do that and I could do this to build my business. And I stopped myself for a minute. And I'm like, wait a minute. The top person in the industry is one of my dearest friends. And he's for 30 years. Jeff knew that I needed a female role model, right? So instead of me trying to be so, you know, like creative, which is a very easy place for me to go, I needed to do the hard stuff. And that was actually listen. And I looked at Jeff and Cheryl and I said, just tell me what I need to do. And I stopped and I said, just tell me what I need to do. And they said, you need to go wide with your front line. You need to make sure people understand to get them to the highest commission structure as quickly as possible. You need to do events. You need to talk to every person. That's what you need to do. And so I did you know, even Tony talks about a business mastery, 1, 2, 3, too many, right? 1, 2, 3, too many. So I know. So Cheryl said, you need to be on my Monday night calls. They're every Monday night at 5:30, you know, Pacific Standard Time. And I'm like, okay. I went home and I told my family, okay, I'm not available from 5:30 to 7:30. And Cheryl's like, no, Lauren, it's just an hour. I'm like, well, if you're doing a call every Monday night for the past 20 something years, then I need to make sure that I do a call right afterwards for the rest of my life. So I'm not available for the next 30, 40 years. So she goes, okay, be on that call. Second thing they told me to do was to go wide and make sure that everybody qualifies, get them to that highest commission structure as quickly as possible. And third, to do events, which 3-way calls. I've built my business on 3-way calls. I love 3-way calls. It's probably one of my favorite things that I do. So I focused only on those 3 things. I want you to really get that. I put conferences in. I brought everything here. I was kind of prepared. You know, I brought these so that you guys can see this. This is my planner already for next year. So I've already gone through and I've already put my dates for everything that's happening for the next year. And instead of like planning my life around my activities, I first make Juice Plus the priority. And I work my life around that. That was what the big thing that I learned from Eric and Cheryl and Jeff was that Cheryl put in my head, she said, so Loren, she didn't say, when are you going to get to NMD? You know what she said? So Loren, who's going to be the first person that you get to congratulate as an NMD on your team? So then it didn't become about me. She knew that I love to like serve people. So she knew that that was going to drive me because I believe that when you sign up your first customer and you sign up your first distributor, or franchisee, however you want to look at it, or team member, you now have a responsibility. right? Like you don't go, oh my God, this is too hard, I'm done, right? How many of you are parents out there? There are times when it's hard, are there not? There are times when you just sometimes go, maybe I'm not so good at this, but you don't go, I'm up, I'm giving up. You say, I'm here for the long run, and the tough times are what are going to make me stronger, right? So I think that we need to really understand that as well. I mean, it hasn't always been easy for me, but like I said, I was on the road about 175 days a year when I was starting my business. I was writing my second book. I had 3 under the age of 11. We all have our beautiful stories, right? But you can either let it be your shackles, or you can let that be your driver, right? So people say, what do you do different than you did back then? I do a lot of the same activities, right? I started my business on Facebook as well. I started it because I only had 3 hours every day. When I was in Fiji, I was teaching all the time, and I only had 3 hours, a 3-hour break. And I'm like, great, this is a great time for me to connect with people. I'll just check on them. I'll look through the feed. And then I would see like what's going on in their life. And if someone said something like, oh my gosh, my kids are sick again, I would just connect with them. I wouldn't say, hey, I've got Juice Plus to share with you. But I would just say, oh my God, I hope your kids are doing well. Make sure that you keep in touch with me. I'd love to support you however I could. And on and through, it's changed so much with regards to social media, but my whole outcome with regards to starting that way was, what can I do to add value? So I would do Motivation Mondays. I do a Tune-Up Tuesday. I do a Wicked Wednesday, right? I would do a Thirsty Thursday. So I know everybody does that now, but you're looking and seeing like, what can you do? Your job is to add the most value. If you look at the TV, right? The TV is now the radio. I don't know about there in Australia, but here, nobody sits around and really watches TV anymore the way that they used to. And the new TV is what? Is the internet, is your channel. So when you look at your page, your social media pages, what do you want your channel to say about you? What do you want it to say about, are you CNN, constantly negative news? Are you inspiration in a box? Are you, when I really want to kick myself in the butt, I'll go to watch Christine working out, right? Like I'm like, dang, right? And then I'll like finally get off my butt and go do something. So you want to, I love Gary Vaynerchuk always says, your job is to get people's attention. So what can you do to get people's attention? Another beautiful thing that he said, and then I'll let you ask me some questions. Oh my God, I can't believe I talked so much. What Gary said is he hears nothing, absolutely nothing. So this guy goes and asks him a question, and he goes, oh my God, Gary, I just love you. I adore you. You're amazing. I've learned so much from you. And Gary's like, thanks. And he goes, I appreciate that. He goes, but that's not my job. And the guy was like, what are you talking about? Gary's like, I hear nothing. I hear nothing positive or negative. He goes, because all my job, he goes, because that can get you like distracted about things, right? Or he goes, I hear absolutely nothing. He goes, my whole outcome is not even about paying attention so much to his page, he says, or what he's posting with regards to it's he's looking about what other people are doing. How can he get the attention of other people, right? So, and I would just say your job is to build relationships. Jeff was smart. Jeff kept a great relationship with me. 18 years ago when my son was born, these 24 red roses come around the corner in my house, and I didn't think of my kid's dad. First person I thought of was Jeff or Bertie, and it was a note from Jeff saying, congratulations on your baby boy, right? And I kept that note my whole life. I've kept it this whole time. And, I looked downstairs, just for my birthday, he sent me more roses, and I'm like, wow, he understands the power of relationships. So this business, your job is to get great at relationships. And there's no better time in the year to grow your business than right now. No better time. The holidays is the best time. Take that extra minute, spend a little bit of money, send somebody a Christmas card, write them a handwritten note. People love handwritten notes, right? Take that sit down for 3 hours and just write some people notes. And I guarantee you, you will be amazed of what happens in your business. I mean, amazed, beyond amazed about what happens in your business. So anyway, that's a little bit of anything you want to ask me. Is this valuable for you guys? I hope it's valuable. I haven't seen anything, but
oh my God, guys, like the chat should be going wild. There's like 69 people on here that should be going wild, because not only is this amazing for like our profession, but it's completely universal to all business. So
right.
If you happen to be on here and you don't know what we're talking about, like it's universal. It's amazing. So look, I'm going to ask you some questions.
The beautiful thing, that I think that we always talk about is we have to remember that concepts are constant, right? So the concept is what? That we put on raving fan customers, and we put on raving fan distributors that are raving fan customers. That's what we do. And then we wash and repeat, and we help people duplicate that. When you try to make it way more than that, it's not duplicatable. So one of the biggest mistakes that I made, I'll just share one of the biggest mistakes I made, was making it about me. So when I first started the business, I'm like, I've taught these programs for Tony Robbins for all these years, and I'm a nutritional therapist, and I'm this and that, and I'm an author, and blah, blah, blah. And then so everybody thought that they had to be a nutritional therapist, or everybody thought they had to go get become raw food certified, or whatever other things I did. And then they're like, well, I'm not an author, and of course you're going to be successful, with regards to it. And I'm like, whoa, I need to stop this, and I need to break it down. And I'm like, I'm a mom on a mission. I'm going through the same stuff that you go through. It's kind of like hearing Bear Grylls in Barcelona. I don't know if anybody got to see the live that Linda posted, but he's like, you know what? They introduced him, the guy from Man vs. Wild, the guy who did Mount Everest, the guy who this and that. And then he gets out there, he goes, they should have done it a lot different than that. I said, you know what? It's Bear Grylls. He prefers to just be home with his family, sitting in front of the TV, all cuddled up, having some tea. He's scared all the time. He doesn't always love doing those exercises. That's how kind of I feel as well. It's like we want people to know that there's no difference. I had an opportunity to go to a big celebrity event last year, and I'm like, you guys, it's no big deal. They put their shoes on the same way, right? It's the same thing, but that's what is our responsibility as well, is to make people know that we really hear them when we understand what's going on in their lives. So, and I love what Bear Grylls says, and I did it on a vision on my board. I found this, and I thought that was such a cool thing. And it's kind of the mountain. And I love what Bear said. He said, everybody has their Everest. Someone's Mount Everest might be releasing 10 pounds. Somebody else's Everest might be, getting their kids through school. Somebody else's Everest might be, building their business, but everybody's got an Everest. It's just, you must, and I shared this last week, right, Joel, with you guys, is that you must fall in love with effort, right? For things to be effortless is not a good thing. There's pride, right? Like when you earn something, ownership, and when you've worked hard for it, you feel better about it, don't you? So I think that we've got to help everybody fall in love with that effort, and that they look and they go, yes, I can't believe I freaking did that, right? There's that celebration in that effort as well. So
it's really funny. Like I'm sitting here because when I got the company and the products sent to me, or shown to me, and I did the old Google thing. I Googled and I found, the negativity. I found that, and then I found a YouTube clip with Bear Grylls saying it was great. And I'm like the biggest Man vs. Wild fan. I was like, I'm in. He was the guy that closed me. I was like, if he's on it, I'm good.
Yeah. And I think that's also a really important thing too that you shared, and you guys have probably heard me talk about this a lot. It's a tool that I learned from Tony from his one-day business seminar. And the first thing is called Bend Win. B, what do people believe? What do people believe about you? If they believe you're a good person and your intentions are great, right? You should never have any fear in your heart. You should know that like every day I wake up and I'll do things like I know who I am. I'm loving, I'm honest, I'm passionate, I'm compassionate. And I know who I am. So you've got to remind yourself that. So, who are you? What do people believe about you? If they believe you're in and out of things and you're not really committed, that's going to show up. E is how do they evaluate? How do they judge? Right? Like I love this team. Like I look at, I look at like Christine, like all the time. And like, she's her posts. I'm like, dang, when does she have the time to do that without, new baby and, her little girl? Like, it's like, she's very consistent. Right. So they're looking to see whether or not you're consistent about things. How are they evaluating? Are they evaluating it based on research? Are they evaluating based on your results? How are they evaluating? And what do they need? Do they need to know that you're going to be there? Do they need to know that there are calls that happen and with leadership? Do they need to know that the products work? Do they need to know that, that they can share it with people in other countries? What do people need? Do they need to know they can make money with this? What do they need? D is what do they desire, right? People will always do more for their desires than they'll ever do for their needs. Right now, people desire at the holidays to be able to do some things that maybe they're not able to do, right? So, so what are their desires? So bend, what do they desire? So on the back of the mesh, great. W, what are their wounds? What's their pain? So I went and I got a massage. And this lady, she's like, and she's an amazing therapist. I have to tap out like, oh, it hurts, right? And so I was talking to her and she is in total pain, but she has this wound because she's like, I've tried all those companies. I have all this and that. And I went through and I spent some time with her as I'm on the massage bed. And then it's a long conversation, but by the end, she goes, you know what, Loren, I'm really excited about the possibility of this. I really think that you're right. So our job is to heal that wound for people, right? Whatever their wound might be. When you heal the wound, you're the hero. What are their interests? If I now know that Joel, that he loves Man versus Wild. So if he's a friend of mine who I would love to have on my team, but I don't want to be, join my Juice Plus team. If maybe for the holidays, I might send him a book about Bear Grylls. Is that worth it? Absolutely. Even if he doesn't join my team, at least I did something that made me feel good to have that connection. Who are their mentors, right? Like if I know someone's mentor is Tony Robbins, like I did my friend Stacy, who's a sideline NMD, I knew that. And so I took her to the NAC event, right? And P, what are they proud of? People love to talk about themselves. Let them talk about themselves. You will find out so much more. My kids always, they used to go, how do you know so much about people? I go, I'm sincerely interested in people. I want to know their story, right? Because every story is a beautiful story. You've got to be obsessed with hearing people's stories, and you've got to want to learn everybody's story, like get to know all your team stories. I know that's a big thing that, you want to know that. Or when you're at conference or just get online and hear everybody's stories with regards to that. So anyway. That
was outstanding. I'm like just trying to mix writing and everything down at the same time. But I'm going to ask you some questions like how did you balance wanting to grow more and achieve more with being grateful for the success you'd already reached?
I had to stop trying to control everything. And I think that we hear it over and over again. It's that your job is to help people become as independent as quickly as possible. And that is so important. It's hard and the ego takes a little bit of a trip on it, right? So like my first NMD was Susie Mitchell over in the UK. And then I was growing the UK and I had 7 people that went NMD, but both of my main leaders over there were very independent. I had Susie that was very independent and I had Jerry McKinney that was very independent as well. So that was the biggest gift, right? Because I was like, oh my God, okay, they're doing their thing. And then I had like a couple other people that were growing here in the US, and then Linda was growing over there. And then I'll be honest, for a while, like it felt so good hanging out over there with you guys that it wasn't fair to Linda for me to hang out there all the time. I needed to give her independence as a leader, but I mean, I liked it. I liked the people from us, I love you guys. I mean, so it was fun to like just hang out there and like be in it. And then I realized, I needed to step back a little bit too. And so I kept adding new frontline. I was like, I need to just go back to still keep adding new frontline as well. So, but I mean, I went over there also to Australia because Joss has a team over there. So I was excited to help him grow his team over there. Right. But you know, I mean, I literally, I love what Cheryl says. There's nothing that 5 new frontline can't help. So when I started like hanging out too much over there, started adding more people last month, I have, I think 3 new frontline. The month before that, 5 new frontline that all went fast track VF. But my goal is to say to them, just like what Cheryl said to me, my job is to get you to the highest commission structure as quickly as possible and to help you become independent. Right. So, so I guess that's what my answer would be.
Amazing. So, like among all of your accomplishments, which makes you the most proud so far?
My accomplishment, oh God, that's a tough one. Probably, that's a hard one. I'd probably say Linda. You're gonna make me cry. You know, when they were over here in Las Vegas, and James was working here. I mean, we were friends. I don't know if you guys even know the whole story. I met them in Fiji, and then after we moved back from Fiji, I moved to Portland, Oregon, where we moved back to Portland, Oregon. And like out of the blue, Linda called me, and she was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm 53 now, just so you know. So this gives you a timeline. This is pre-Juice Plus. So out of the blue, I remember exactly where I was. I remember sitting at my desk late at night, kind of like this. And I had, my candles burning, and she called me and she goes, so what are you doing for your 40th birthday? And I'm like, I haven't really thought about what I'm going to do for my 40th birthday. And she's like, well, why don't you come to Vegas? And I was like, Vegas? I'm like, I'm not really a Vegas kind of girl. I'm kind of a Portland, Oregon, like earthy kind of girl. And she goes, come to Vegas and we'll go see this show, and we'll go do this and we'll go do that. Then the next day, a friend of mine, totally just a weird thing. I got an email from a friend of mine, a guy named Jerry McCambridge. He's a mentalist. And it popped up, he lived in New York, and it popped up that he was moving to Vegas, doing a show at the JW Marriott. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, Linda calls me yesterday, he calls me today. And I'm like, and I call in, I'm like, I don't know what kind of voodoo you just put on me, but I guess I'm coming to Vegas for my 40th birthday. And I brought Jerry in to do my birthday party for me, and Linda was pregnant with Sienna. And I just liked Linda. I just really liked her. And then that's when, I guess the next year we decided to move to Vegas. And then I moved to Vegas, and then that's when I went to a Juice Plus conference, and I came, and when I was making that list of who did I know, love, and care about, Linda was on that list. She didn't, like, she took the products for her and James, and she got a couple customers. I remember, we met a couple of her friends around town, and then she was moving back to Australia, but she was moving to the Gold Coast, and she was from Melbourne. And I just remember, just her work ethic from the beginning. I saw, she had 3 babies. Her office was in her dining room. It had like a Swiss ball and a little folding table. And I'm like, I'm freaking committed, whatever it takes. And I just am so proud of her. And I'm gonna tell you, your team is the foundational team that really launched Australia the way that it's launched right now. Fee and the courage that Fee and Chris and Fee and Linda first, that they had. It was not easy, you guys. It was not easy at all. I don't know if you guys, the backstory is a very not fun, easy story. A lot of cries, a lot of times that we wanted to quit. A lot of times when Lindy called me and said, Loren, I don't know if Linda's gonna, renew her membership, her distributorship, and then there was Fee, and then, and then Fee found Christine, and those 3 ladies, Australia has a lot. I mean, they got good sideline support, from other organizations, but I'm telling you, their resilience and the effort that they put in And now to see, you know, what's grown out of this, and to see Linda on that vacation now with her family, you know, for that time, and just really letting people become independent is very, very powerful. So I'd say Linda, Fee, and Christine. And then the other one I say is my son. You know, my son, and seeing him work this business with, you know, with his fiance is really, really cool. And then the other thing is just every person that decides to go, you know what, this is not about me. This is about who can I help and who can I serve. So I'm not going to pick one. I picked three. There you go. Thanks for making me cry again.
All right. Well, I'll give you a more like a more training sort of question, because I've had one come in from the team, and they said they have a question relevant for them, so it's relevant for other people too. So, how long does it take you to transition from building the relationship and friendship to bringing up the product or business? Because this person's had someone say, "Don't get stuck in the friend zone in this business."
It depends on the person. You know, I have a friend, she's the #1 physical therapist in Southern California. And I always wanted to mention Juice Plus to her, but she was kind of on my chicken list. And she called me one day and she said, sign me up. And I'm like, sign you up for what? She goes, Juice Plus, I've been watching you for 9 years. And, so it really depends on the person. Like this lady that, you know, the massage therapist lady, I mean, I've probably been going to her for about 3 months now and never brought it up. And then I just kind of was like, look, I really like you. Like, I love coming here to you. You make me feel so, I really trust you. I go, and that means a lot to me because I don't know. She goes, I'm not good in sales, Loren. I'm not this and that. I go, let me tell you something, babe. You have quite a gift. If you allow if total strangers allow you to touch them, you know, then you have a gift. And so it depends. And I think the biggest thing, and Linda's amazing at it, Christine's amazing at it, is really that whole thing of being a master asker. You know, all your job to do is to ask people questions, right? And I'm very big on using that third party approach. Like I said, nobody wants you to know they're having problems. You know, I have to be careful of a conversation, but there was a girl I just did a meeting with, and the husband has a pretty big practice, a wellness practice in a different area. And she's like, the husband's like, yeah, no, this would be good for my wife. I'm good with my business. And then we found out that the husband's business, he's not even paying the bills, right? So nobody wants you to know that they're having challenges. I will share a story with you because, you know, the two best ways to learn are through stories and experiences. But remember, I went through the recession. So I had $1 million home. I lost my $1 million home. I had to pay $45,000 to get out of my house. I went through all my savings account. I pawned all my jewelry. I had no money. This was while I was building my Juice Plus business. I was 2.5 years into the business, right? And so I was coaching this guy, and I'm like, look, and he was there for part of this coaching program was that he was with me for a day. And I'm like, look, I've got 2 calls that I have to get on, so I'm gonna have to take a break. And so he's like, all right. So I was on the Juice Plus calls, and this guy had a big landscape business, and he would always pay me with a credit card. Right? And he had this beautiful website, and all these people working for him, and blah, 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 blah. So after I get off my call, he goes, you know, maybe I should sign myself up for that Juice Plus stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. And then, you know, so there's an example of, I didn't even bring it up. He overheard me having a conversation. I wasn't going to even bring it up at all. And he goes, you know, maybe I should sign my wife up as well too. And I'm like, well, you know, if you're going to sign you and your wife up, might as well pay the $50 and just sign up for a distributorship, because you're going to love it anyway. I always frame it that way. I always say, you're going to love it anyway. You're going to be on it for life. I mean, it's foundational with everything that you do. So you're going to love it anyway. Might as well sign up, and you're going to get paid on your own product. So the next month, he's like, all right. So he said, well, I'll sign my son up too. So he signed 3 of them up. And he goes, Next month, he calls me and he goes, Loren, I owe you the biggest apology. I go, what do you mean? You owe me the biggest apology. He goes, I've been living a lie. He goes, I've been living off credit card debt for the past 4 years. He goes, and I got that check for $104. And I went down to the bank crying and I cashed that check. And it's the first cash that I've had in my hands in 4.5 years. And I think that we make assumptions and we think that everybody's good, or like if somebody insults you or says something about your business or this and that, you got to really do the Gary Vee and just not hear it. And I don't know. I mean, the guy's still on the product. It hasn't really done anything, but that's fine. But I mean, $100, right? So you just, as long as you continue just to be there. And so the friend thing for me, it depends. Jeff Roberti stayed on me for 17 years, but Jeff didn't stop with me. When I said no, he's like, okay, move on out of the way. I'll find somebody else. And then he found Chris Droves. And, so he's always, you don't get too attached to your friends. My brother still says no, so, whatever. And my brother loves the company. My brother still has an NSA water filter. My brother loves his air filter that the company put out forever ago, but he's still not interested, right? Until he had a job with the government. And then he said, maybe I should have said yes to Juice Plus when you said yes. But then he slowly backed away. But I'm not attached to that. I don't hear anything, right? So what else did you want me to do? Yeah. Go ahead. What did I say on those calls that overheard and wanted to share? So what I did is I shared my first group of 14 people that I called. I really thought about who did I know, love, and care about. So the first one was my friend Amanda, who I knew needed the product. I knew she needed the product, right? She had lupus. I heard the research like this book. Amanda, I don't know. This is what I would say. And I could say this because I was new. I hadn't even been on the product yet. I was there at conference and decided to be, I don't know, but this sure makes sense to me. It couldn't hurt anything. And I go, you can either go on the product, and then I would say, or if you happen to know somebody that might want to help me share this foundational product, would you please send them my way? And she said, well, what about me? And, I'm like, oh, cool, right? And then I call my friend Jen Steinman. Jen Steinman is a film producer. Jen Steinman is the person who came to hear our team when I represented our team to give our NMD story, right? Our story from the stage. And there were 7 of us that gave our stories. And after me was Dave O'Brien. And Dave O'Brien is the desert runner. And Jen heard him and goes, wow, that guy's quite a character. And she went to Juice Plus, and she said, I'd like to make a documentary called The Desert Runners. And Samantha Gash, who's over there in Australia, Samantha Gash, all of these people, if you haven't watched The Desert Runners, you should highly watch it because it's a great resource that we really don't use, and it's ridiculous that we don't use it. But it's a great resource, especially with all these extreme sports. You should totally, be suggesting. The guy who was the filmmaker, Savan, is now the vice president of CrossFit. We were at the CrossFit Games 7 years ago. I had a booth at the CrossFit Games 7 years ago. And I'd be standing there, at the booth, and then the Navy SEALs would be like, I got my Juice Plus, we love Juice Plus, because it's paleo safe. And so so I would call Jen, and she's like, well, Jen was somebody I wanted to work with. I didn't know it was going to show up that she was going to be doing a documentary. But then, so I said, Jen, we've always wanted to do something. I don't know if this is it. You're going to love the products anyway. Pay the $50. So it depended on the friend of how I approached them. My other friend, Vanessa's a multimillionaire. And so I kind of went in through that thing like, oh, I'm just going to tell her about the products because she's already financially does well. And I go, hey, Vanessa, you're going to love this. Your kids get it for free. You're going to put it in your husband. You're going to put one kid under him, one with that. And you know what her next question was? Can I make money from this? So I wasn't even going to ask her about the business. And then she went SSC like within 3 months, right? We were doing breakfast meetings, lunch meetings, dinner meetings. We were like, people were going to get us no matter what, right? And then there was my friend Joelle, who had gastric bypass surgery. and she couldn't keep anything down. So I just went through the list. I'm like, look, Joelle, you're going to love it. It's going to help you absorb it. And she ended up signing one of the top gastric bypass surgeons up, right? So then my friend Joni LaRue, who came to conference with me. So, and then another friend of mine, she was a vice president of Office Depot, but she didn't do the business, but she signed her sister up. So you don't know where it's going to lead. It's not always going to be your frontline people that are going to do something in the business as well. So you can't be too attached to that either, right? So yeah, is that helpful?
That's
so I don't have like a timeline. I like, it depends, right? It's kind of like asking somebody, how long do they breastfeed their baby, I guess, right? Right? This is different for each one.
Totally get that as a guy. Totally. Oh, wow. Thank you. So, like, we want to respect your time tonight, but there's got a couple more questions.
Good. You go.
All right.
Tell me.
There's a question here, like parents or husbands, wives. Can you see that, or do you want me to
I
read?
can see it. Parents or husbands, wives that have family that are sick and medication just don't budge. You know, you've probably heard this story before that I shared, but I'm just going to share it again because I think it's a good metaphor for people. Many, many years ago, probably back in 1990, I met an amazing woman named Louie Thaddy. And Louie was in a plane crash. There were 12 people on the plane. And the plane landed in the water. There were 3 people that could swim. She was one of those 3 that could swim. And she goes, Loren, there were some people that were drowning. And there were some people that had their hands up. She goes, who do you think I help? And I go, well, I hope you help the people with their hands up. She said, you would have hoped so, but I help the drowning people. And as hard as it is, you know, she goes, and in the meantime, I could have, I lost 2 lives. And so many times we're spending way too much time talking to people or giving so much energy to people that they're drowning. And you've got to help the people. There are people that are right in front of you that go, help me, I'm ready. If you're on the call, you got your hands up if you're on the call, right? If there's somebody that you said, you got to get to this call, and they're like, I'm too busy. I don't this and that. I've got this going on. I'm like beyond inspired about this whole babes in business thing with all these people here. Like, I'm like, the part of me got a little sad. I'm like, gosh, I freaking live here in Las Vegas, and a bunch of people aren't even showing up at the event, and here these people freaking came halfway around, around the world to celebrate this, right? And to learn and to, like, I was like, I was driving home, probably a little bit jealous about it, but not in a bad way, in a way of like, how can I continue to be a better leader, right? How can I have more influence, here, but, with regards to it. But I also want other people to rise up. I don't want, the challenge also happens, for me, is that I don't want to always be the one I want to be able to pass the mic to people. That's why, Linda, it makes me so proud. And now Linda passes the mic to Fee and Christine and you and all those people. That's our job. Kate and Anthony pass the mic to Shani, and Shani's passing the mic to Loren. And that's the job, is to keep passing the mic. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't need to be the speaker. I don't need to be the speaker. I need to be, I'll be the fair, Anthony was asking me, he goes, Loren, what's your vision, with regards to, your, Juice Plus? It's like, I want to be the fairy godmother of Juice Plus. Like, whether it's be for anybody in, as part of this team or a sideline, I want to be able to just sit there and hopefully give just like one little nugget that'll change someone's life. I don't need to be, that's how I want to be known as. I want to be known as the fairy godmother of Juice Plus. That anybody that needs a wish granted, that I can do something for them to help them, like, okay, baby, that's what we need to do. I'll help you find the way, to do that. But, it's hard. It's hard. Like I just shared with you, my brother, the only time my brother called me about Juice Plus was when his daughter had a scare. And my brother's like, FedEx me some Juice Plus, right? And then it was fine, her condition. So guess what happened? He wasn't interested in it anymore, and it's heartbreaking when that, then when that happens. But I can't, my brother's drowning. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it, So maybe.
That's outstanding. Okay, so I guess, like, one of the things that's been coming up when we're really going for the business and there's a lot going on, like how do you deal with overwhelm? Like how do you just like deflect that off? Like how would you suggest that when your team come to you with the overwhelm? I don't want to say excuse, but they feel the weight of the business coming on them. Like how do you
the weight of the business coming on them?
Well, just the weight of life, you know. We have people that just, it gets too hard, or like how do you deal with overwhelm, I guess, is the quick version.
Well, I'm really big for block times in my life. I have every day from 10 to 2, I hunker down. You guys know this. I mean, I've got my goggles right here, and that's my time to put my goggles on and swim, right? And everybody's very clear about my time. My husband's helped me a lot with that as well. I used to say that I'm available all the time for everybody, and I'm not available all the time for everybody. And I don't think that that's a good thing to say, that you're available all the time for people. Because I'm very clear now that, look, I've only got 24 hours in a day to take care of my family, you know, my dogs probably take up most of my day. And, you know, my dogs, my family, my friends, my business, you know, all of these different things. So I'm like, look, I'm available from 10 to 2. My husband at 7 o'clock, he says, look, 7 o'clock, phone's off, computer's off, it's all off, and it's family time. And can I tell you something? My business has grown more when I started to set those boundaries than ever before. So I think boundaries are super, super important while you're growing your business. And also your time, you value your time more, right? Like you value your time. If you don't value your time, and I think so many people are busy being busy, and but I think you need to set block times. I mean, if you're going to do this, there's a new girl on our team. One friend of mine, her name's Kimberly Mack. You guys are going to hear about Kimberly Mack. Let me tell you something. Kimberly went to Q right away when she started the business. And then she had some situations that came along, you know, and she kind of fell out for a little bit, but I always kept her hanging around the flagpole. I'd always like just check in with her. You know, I never gave up because I knew, you know, I know who she is and what just her values in life. And she has this new girl named Karina. And Karina, was it Sprint or no? Verizon laid off a bunch of the different executives here in the United States. And Karina's like, okay, how many hours a day do I need to do to be this and that? She goes, because I can commit 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm like, sister, if you commit, and she's got 4 kids, just so you know. And they're all under the age of 4, right? Or something crazy, like it's something ridiculous, it's something crazy. And I'm like, sister, if you can commit 2 to 3 hours a day, you're going to the top. You know, I think she went SC like in just like 4 days, right? She's got me doing freaking new distributor calls left and right. Like they're doing meal preps for the shred. They're on it, right? So you've got to decide, you know, what are you really willing to give up for the short term so that you can have everything that you want. You've heard this before as well. There's no new information, just FYI. There's nothing new. Like this is just, you've got to learn the basics, just like anything. You know, you can't learn you can't learn how to write, you know, sentences if you don't learn the alphabet. This is the alphabet of Juice Plus. The alphabet is do events, put on customers, put on new distributors, decide that this is a priority, decide that you're really going to come up with a great vision. You need a vision. If you don't have a vision for what it's going to be, how is anybody going to have a vision for you? If I don't put that out there for my team, you know, to make sure of qualifiers and that, how are they ever going to pass that on to their team? So it's an excuse. You might not like me for saying this. Overwhelm, change it to like, oh my God, like how lucky am I that I have so many opportunities to do so many different things, right? Or don't let the overwhelm last all day long. I'll get overwhelmed for like 10 minutes and then I'll go outside and I'll do a walk around the block. Right. And I run into OJ, who lives in my neighborhood. And so, you know, I'll walk around the block, right? Or I'll go outside and like, you know, do some jumping jacks, or I'll go get a nice tea down the street. Right. But don't let the overwhelm, you know, become your story of why you're not going to do it. Does that make sense? So, that's what
100%. I loved it. I love the no excuse part. That was my favorite part. So like, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Or what would you want your superpower to be?
Power to be. what would I want my superpower to be? Probably that for people to get over their excuses. Like every time that they have an excuse, it just kind of zaps them like a laser, like, you know, like, okay. And I'm like, oh shit, you know, damn. All right. I got it. I didn't do this and that. Right. Probably that.
We have that over in Australia. It's called a cattle prod. We just hit people with that. That's all right.
One of those. I want one of those. I want one of those.
Duplicatable too. So I've got to be careful.
Yeah. You know,
I've got to watch out because Christine's a faster runner than me, so I wouldn't actually be able to get away. So
I think, you know, for me, it's, I'll share one other thing that I think is, I'm going to cry a little bit about this. I mean, I say this often. I really do believe, I mean, even me, I mean, I'm not great at it all the time. I mean, I should be talking to more people too. You know, I really should. I might admit it. I'm not saying that I like talk to every person and I'm so magnificent with regards to it. But you know, my dad loved this profession. My dad was my hero. My dad was my everything. But my dad was an optometrist for 52 years and we never took a vacation ever. He never took a vacation because if my dad didn't go to work, you know, no bills got paid, and he has his own practice. He never had anybody there, you know, assisting him. So, but he loved this industry. Like he really wanted to do this. He wanted to give, you know, like there was a company called Shackley, but he loved, you know, he loved NSA. He loved this. But he was so busy, you know, just keeping up with his patients. He didn't have, you know, and he wasn't a businessman. So he had to like try to manage his office managers, which he really didn't know how to do. And he had the hugest heart, my dad. But he loved this, but he also had to keep up like continued education courses. And I mean, there was just, and he loved doing philanthropic things. But tonight when I was with Kate and Anthony, you know, and Kate was like, you know, they just left, the kids are home with my mom and dad. And she goes, and, you know, and I go, what did your dad do? She goes, he was, I guess he, like was digger, you know, and he like, whatever he would dig something. And that she said, you know, her parents never got to have breakfast together because he was always off early, an excavator. Thank you. He was off early in the morning, and so they never actually got to have breakfast together. And she goes, you know, because of this mission, you know, her mom and dad have breakfast together every single day, and her dad, you know, doesn't have to be an excavator anymore. And, you know, I just started to cry. I'm like, you know what? I was so freaking selfish, and because I thought I knew everything about this profession, right? And yeah, she got to retire him. And so you know, I like just right there, I'm like, dang, if there's anything that I could help everybody get, you have a gift in front of you. You know, I knew about this gift in 1990 when my dad was alive. My dad didn't pass away, you know, until many years later after that. But I had that gift in front of me, but my arrogance didn't let me see what truly was possible. And so I just say to you, if you're there, if you're at the place right now where you're wondering, is it really worth it? It is. You know, it's not always going to be easy. I think the other challenge is that everybody expects it in like 2 minutes or like a year or 2 years. Just so you guys know, my income was very, I had to work the Robbins events because my income, even though I was doing well, it was about, I was making like, I don't know, for many years, probably about $9,000 to $10,000 a month. You go, well, that's a lot of money, Loren. That's really good. Not when your expenses are $15,000 a month, right? So I was making $10,000 a month, but I had to keep doing coaching and I had to keep doing the Robbins events because I had to freaking, you know, just cover my expenses, cover my costs of things. Right. I mean, it was like, oh my God, like, and it was hard. And I leave my wedding album out downstairs as a reminder for me because November, 5 years ago, and this was before, I mean, Christine, you guys had just like you guys had really just started getting going, right? 5 years ago. It was really 5 years ago. They really just started, you know, getting going. But it was mostly, my business was in Europe and in the United States. And my check came, my November check came, and it was 50% more than what my check had been. I think to like $15,000. And I called Cheryl and I'm like, oh my gosh, Cheryl, I go, I'm so nervous. And she goes, what happened? I go, I think they made a mistake with my check. Like, I think that there's something wrong with it. And Cheryl goes, why, honey, what happened? You know? And I go, it went up like 50%. And she looked at me, she goes, oh baby, you've hit liftoff, right? So you have to realize that you must be patiently persistent. You know, you can't expect it to happen overnight. You've got to, like, you know, you got to sow the seeds. You got to, like, give them time to grow. You know, I have my bamboo plants everywhere, all over my house. Those are from my 50th birthday, which was 3 years ago. They've grown an inch every year, right? I measure it every year. It just grows an inch every year, right? I can't expect it to grow 20 feet if that's not the time that it takes. So you must be patiently persistent with regards to this, you know. And Keith Cunningham's thing, you got to get in line and stay in line, because the minute that you get out of line, you got to go to the end of the line and you got to get back in line. Like, I don't know why. I think that once again, when you've signed up your first customer or signed up your first distributor, you need to decide for yourself that you're in for life. And that's what Jeff said when Eric, where I'll end with this, because I know I've been talking, I know I'm going too long, but we were at, you know, we're getting ready to start the GoPro event in a couple of days. And we were at the Six Figure Summit. It was a program that Eric did a couple days before. If you made over six figures, you could attend it. So I was at the event with Jeff and a couple other people. And as we were there, Eric goes, okay, stand up if it's sometime in your professional career in network marketing, you've made over $1 million. So of the 600 people, probably 80% of the room stood up, right? So then he's like, okay, stay standing if you've made over $5 million. So most of, a lot of people start sitting down, and then he goes, okay, $10 million. And so more people start sitting down, and he goes, okay, 20 million. And so then it's only like 5 people standing up, right? So then he goes, okay, more than 50. And so it's only Jeff and a guy named Robert Hollis. Those are the only 2 people standing. I was sitting right beside Jeff. And he goes, okay, more than 50. And Robert Hollis sits down, and only Jeff is standing up. Okay, you guys have to realize this is your upline. This is your upline. Many of you are in Jeff Roberti's pay line, just so you know. It's Jeff, Cheryl, myself, then Linda, then you've got Fee, Christine. So, you're pretty close to the fire, if I would say so myself. And so anyway, Jeff, Eric comes back to Jeff, and he goes, Jeff, why? Like, why have you made this amount of money? And Jeff goes, you know what? This company that I am with represents the values that are important to me, right? Which is really helping other people have what they want so you can have more of what you want, the Jim Rohn, quote. And he said, and you know what? I picked a horse and I decided to ride it. I didn't try out a horse and, no, I don't know about that horse. And I didn't go to another company and try it over there and then go to another company. And then Eric's like, just so you guys know, some of you that have stood up and said you made all this money, he goes, many of you are not going to be around a couple of years because you keep jumping around. You keep thinking it's about the company. It's always between you and you, right? My son Joss is the top person with his company selling. He's a gemologist. And I'm like, Joss, I go, it's not about the gems, And he goes, I know, Mom. He goes, it could be anything out there if I was passionate about it. And that's because that's why I love Juice Plus. And, so anyway, Jeff stood up and, with that, and he goes, you guys always wonder GoPro and who's the story about, who's the person that I followed around and learned from? Guess who it was? Jeff Roberti. So, you're in the right place. You've got the most amazing leadership with all these guys on the line. I love all that you're doing and how you've come together and really decided to create this movement together. It's beautiful. And just super excited for all of you. So,
So I have one last question for you.
Yes, you may.
If you had a billboard and the entire world could see it, like what would it say? What would you tell the world?
That's an easy one. Christine, what would it say? We all know what it would say. Who knows what it would say? Whoever knows what it says, I'm going to send you one of my books. So who knows what it would say? Let's see who's got it. Let's see who's got it.
I'm useless fairy godmother.
Huh? Anybody know? Stay true to who you are. You know, stay true to who you are. I mean, you know, there's the thing for me is that, you know, I always say to be a person you're not is to waste the person you are. So it'd probably be stay true to who you are. To be a person you're not is to waste the person you are. So stop comparing yourself. Be like what I would say unapologetically, you know, authentic about who you are. You know, stay true to you because there's only one you. And not everybody's going to love you. You don't need to hear it, though, and just stay true. And that's my question for myself always. Whenever I'm wondering, like, what, like, if it's something good to do, I always say to myself, am I staying true to myself? You know, am I staying true to, like, how I feel, to my values, to what matters to me in life? So, you know, to be a person you're not is to waste the amazing, kick-ass, wonderful person that you are. You know, I look and I like, there's a lot of things that aren't so great. Like, I'm like, why am I wearing this shirt? Like, I want to be Christina Drum, you know, with my arms like that. Right. But I also, like, there's other things like about me that I've got to honor. So that's what it is. So stay true to who you are, go kick ass, go get off your ass and get to work. It ain't coming to you. You got to go out there and you got to work for it. So.
Well, that was amazing. And what a way to leave it. And if you thought this was amazing and you stayed all to the end, thank you very much. Let Loren know in the chat how much we appreciate her.
I appreciate you all as well. I appreciate you all as well. So go out there and got lots of people to help you guys. Lots of people need us now more than ever. So, all right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Loren.
Bye.